This is without a doubt one of the most disturbing movies that I've ever sat through in a movie theater, or anywhere for that matter. This movie is very disturbing, it's very brutal. This is a movie that should not be watched by anybody who isn't prepared to see wanton violence and a reenactment of what happens when a village in Darfur is attacked by the Janjaweed. What's probably the most disturbing element of this movie is how real the violence seems to us. Now, in my own personal experience talking about the movie to people I know, when I say that it was directed by no less than Uwe Boll himself, a lot of people are turned off by that idea, because Uwe Boll, as many people know, has been dubbed one of the worst directors of all time, and is a king of the Razzie Awards. There are always people ready to bash down on his movies, most of which are based off of video games. Now, I personally haven't seen any of these so-called atrocious movies, but I always went along with the idea that they were bad, so I avoided them. Watching Darfur gives me a whole new respect for Uwe Boll as a filmmaker. The film deals not only with the issues of the people being massacred, but also with the West's reactions to it. This is given to us in the form of 6 journalists from the United States and also from Britain, and they're all deciding how they stand in this situation. Some people take it to heart, other people are just there for their job. And then when the Janjaweed come on over the horizon, they all have to make a decision. They can either go back, escape the massacre, and tell the West their story, or they can go back to the village, risk their lives, but also help protect the villagers with their Western status. Of course, people are divided, and opinions are evolved. What makes this scene very interesting, and what makes these characters so fascinating, is that they were completely improvised. Most, if not all, of the dialogue in this movie was improvised, whether it was from the Western journalists or whether it was from the Sudanese people. Uwe Boll was playing with the realism of the movie, not only with the authentic-looking set, but also with the improvisational performances. These actors had to develop the characters completely for inside out, and had to realize what they wanted to make these characters feel. If you had to look at it by means of screen time and contribution to the storyline, the 2 most important actors of the 6 journalists are Christiana Loken and David O'Hara. Christiana Loken's character has the bulk of the interviews, and she talks mostly with the women in the village, and watching her ask these questions to the people, I couldn't help but remember how the Sudanese people are mostly comprised of actual Darfur survivors. Knowing this added another level of disturbing reality to the looks on their faces and the emotion in their words. Hands down, though, it is David O'Hara who gives the strongest and most emotional performance in the movie, at least of the Western actors. David O'Hara takes what a lesser actor would have turned into a cliché performance and gives it real character development. We see him in his initial travels to Darfur, and then when the problem arises, we see him change his opinions slowly based on what happens to him. There's no doubt in our minds as to why he makes the decisions that he does in the movie, and watching him make them and watching him act on these decisions is very interesting to watch. But of course, in the middle of all this, we have the actual massacre. I know I've stressed this enough already, but I need to stress it again. This is a brutal and disturbing film. The film is trying to shock us into realization as to what is going on in this region of the world. Uwe Boll is trying to show us what's happening and why it's happening. And on both counts, I would say he did a fantastic job. The film got a special deal in Canada when Stand Canada, a group devoted to raising awareness of Darfur and its atrocities, decided to help get a distribution deal by giving it a 10-city tour. So now that the tour's over, it's going to be hard to catch the movie, but if you do, then I would recommend you go see it, but only if you really want to see just how bad things are in Darfur, if this movie is any indication. And based on what I've read about the movie and its production, Uwe Boll got his facts right on this one. All in all, a very well made film, but also very hard to watch.
الليلة يومنا